Office, your favorite Commanders YouTube show. If this is your first time watching, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at the Denton Day. If you are a normal watcher, you will notice I am not in the usual Denton's office, which is just a room that I steal from salespeople at the Team 980. I am in my actual office because I am not in the studio right now. It is at night, and I am home because I do things outside of just live in a studio. But for schedule release day, I felt like it was important to jump on here and give you immediate reactions to Washington's 2025 schedule. The whole schedule release day and the song and dance around it, I'm kind of like numb to at this point, but I do love seeing who Washington is going to play in the year 2025, especially how the NFL is going to handle Washington in 2025, given the success that our franchise had in 2024 and finally having ourselves a quarterback. If you are unaware of the schedule, good news, blam, it's right there. So you can look at this for a second, familiarize yourself with it. I'm not going to patronize you and read one by one by one. We're adults here. We can read. And if you're not an adult here, you can still probably read, or at least hopefully you can read. I have a couple of takeaways that I have from this schedule, and then just a couple of highlighted games that I want to get to. So my takeaways are coming in a bunch of three. Good things come in threes. That's what I've been told. And I also played basketball growing up. Not well, but I did play, and I lived and died by the three-pointer. So takeaway number one here, Washington is very much back on the island of relevancy in the NFL. We knew that there would be big windows for Washington in 2025. I don't know that anybody predicted the amount of big windows that our organization would have in 2025. Five primetime games and then three nationally televised slots, along with another three 425 games, and then the potential of that final game against Philadelphia being flexed either to a 425 or a primetime slot or a nationally televised slot if the NFL wants to do Saturdays. Now, I do just want to point something out here because this has been a topic of discussion that I have seen on social media. They have five primetime games. Primetime is an actual thing. Just because you are the only show on television does not mean you are primetime. So, like that, some of these windows, for example, the Christmas window, 1 p.m. is not primetime. Primetime is like an actual thing. It was not just created by the internet. It is an actual thing. It is a window between, on the East Coast, 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. So, if your game is not in the window of 8 p.m. or 11 p.m., you are in fact not primetime. So, that Christmas game is not primetime. The Madrid game might be primetime in Spain. I don't know the conversion there, but it is not primetime in the US. They are, however, nationally televised games in big time slots. So if you want to say pseudo primetime, you can say pseudo primetime, but it was important as someone that studied this in college and paid a lot of money to do so. Primetime is like an actual thing, and Washington has five games in primetime, which is an astronomical number because I remember and you remember the years, decades where it felt like the NFL was struggling to find a place to put Washington in a primetime slot solely because they had to play on Thursday Night Football or they had to play on Monday Night Football. This was very, very different in 2025. It felt like Roger Goodell was like, get number five on television as much as possible. So not having 1 p.m. games, this is going to be so new. I'm excited. I mean, now I'm going to have my entire morning to me on like 90% of Commanders weekends. So that's a whole lot of fun. They are back on the island of relevancy. People want to see Jaden Daniels. I have told this story before. I will tell it again. I went to the Super Bowl doing some work with 1067 The Fan and the Team 980, right? We're hanging out at Media Row. It's a huge, huge deal. Even still, and they're big time superstars. The big time superstars, you're looking at Joe Burrow. I mean, Stephen A. Smith was there and he had like an entourage of 80 people. Those were the two top draws. The third biggest draw at Radio Row, Media Row, it was Jaden Daniels. Everybody wanted to see Jaden Daniels. Everybody wanted to kind of follow him from interview to interview on the national stage. He is a legitimate superstar. We continue to get numbers, it feels like, every other week about just how big of a jersey salesman he is, how many people are invested into this quarterback that we now get to call ours as fans of the Commanders. He is a legitimate superstar, and the NFL clearly recognizes that after 2024. So Jaden Daniels has taken this W flag and planted it firmly back on the island of relevancy. Takeaway number two. The NFL still has no idea how to schedule 17 games. The biggest gripe that I have with this schedule for Washington, they don't have weak spots. Last year there was weeks where you could point to and say, all right, this is like a 4 week period where they're not playing good teams. They should be able to get a couple of wins here. They don't have that on the schedule this year. Now, the nice thing is that they are still one of the best teams in the NFL, and they are the big dog in a lot of these matchups, but there are no weak spots on the schedule. But my biggest gripe is the way that it ends. Four division games to end the season is ludicrous. It should be illegal. The fact that the NFL put something like this in there, and on top of that, the rest periods for this is going to be very, very odd for Washington. They end at New York, Philly on Saturday, Dallas on Christmas, at Philadelphia. Whoever did that needs to be thrown into the Potomac, but not the Potomac now, the Potomac that we know like 4 or 5 years ago, where it was legitimately disgusting and you come out of there with a fourth eye. Like whoever came up with that idea is an absolute lunatic. And unfortunately, it's going to happen to somebody every single year, but Washington is on the wrong side of the stick of that. No team in the NFL should be forced to end their season with four consecutive division games. I know you want to have Washington and Philadelphia in big slots. I get that. It was the NFC Championship game last year. The three games were good games. I mean, one was a lot better than the other two, but the three games were good games. If I'm a schedule maker, I'm putting one of those games in the middle of the season where each team is in a rhythm and you get a legitimate showdown that you can market. And then I'm putting that game at the end of the season. Doing that in like a 14-day span or whatever the actual time frame is absolutely absurd to me. I don't understand who came up with that idea, and I hate whoever came up with that idea. I hate the way that the NFL schedules with 17 games. If you're going to put us through the song and dance and you're going to put the players through the song and dance of 17 games, you might as well learn to get these damn things right. Four division games to close is absolutely stupid. And then finally, everything is going to be earned this year. Like I said, there are no weak spots on this schedule. Like you can maybe point to weeks 1 and week 3. We don't know what New York is going to be. I have no idea who the Giants are going to be playing at quarterback. So that first week of the season, we could consider that a little bit of a layup game. Hopefully that doesn't age poorly. But by the time you play New York again, you're in divisional matchups. And that at that point it's Denver, Minnesota, and then New York, Philly, Dallas, Philly. Like that's a tough spot to be in. I look at like weeks 4 through the bye, which the bye is week 12. That's 4 years in a row that Washington has had a bye week post week 10. I thought they would have a much earlier one this year, but I'm okay with the week 12 thing, I guess. But weeks 4 through the bye week, man, are tough. Like you're getting matchups with Kansas City in there. You're getting matchups with Detroit in there. Like it's going to be a really, really interesting and a really, really unique spot to navigate for Washington. I'm curious to see how Dan Quinn's going to handle it. I'm curious to see how Jane Daniels is going to handle it. I am forever confident in Jane Daniels as the quarterback of this team moving forward, but it is fair to point out and say this is a much tougher schedule than what they played and he played last season. So how is he going to handle that? I'm excited to see. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. He has shown us nothing at the NFL that would suggest otherwise, but this schedule is a lot tougher than what it was last year. That is a little bit of the pitfalls of being a really, really good team one year. The NFL is going to make it a lot more difficult for you the next year just to see if you can kind of hang. This phases teams out. The 1 year runs, the one hit wonders in the NFL, you get phased out with schedules like this. I don't anticipate that that's going to happen, but I am excited to see what this is going to bring and how this is going to bring the best, hopefully, the best out of the Commanders in 2025. And then, real quickly here, just some games to highlight. Every game has a storyline. Like I could figure 18 different storylines out here for 17 games. It'd be very, very easy to do so. But some of the ones that I'm looking forward to the most. Week 6, Monday night against Chicago. I mean, they're going to be getting Vietnam flashbacks walking in to Northwest Stadium. It is going to be a Monday night. All eyes are going to be on this game. Of course, because it's on Monday night, this is the Hail Jaden, the Hail Maryland, whatever you want to call it. I think Hail Jaden is a lot better of a name, but that's because I live in Virginia and I represent Virginia. This is going to be a fun one. Caleb versus Jaden. The Bears have had a really good offseason. I expect them to be a lot better in 2025. So that's going to be a absolute headbanger of a matchup. 2 weeks later, you get Kansas City Week 8, Monday Night Football. That one's going to be at Arrowhead. Now, it's the point in the year where you're not getting like a -2 degree game, which is going to be sick because I don't want to watch a -2 degree game. Nobody wants to watch that trash. Anyone that says they do is lying through their teeth. But you get the opportunity to see Jane Daniels and Patrick Mahomes. And this was a conversation last year about who ranked where in quarterbacks. Mahomes has all of the accolades, yes, but in terms of just 2024 in a vacuum, I don't think it was crazy to suggest that Jane Daniels played better than Patrick Mahomes through various points of that season. So getting to see those two guys go head to head on Monday Night Football is going to be sick. Week 10, I know I'm not just like skipping all the odds here, I promise. But week 10, you get the Lions. That's a 425 kick. Surprisingly, not in prime time. I thought this game would be in prime time. I kind of thought maybe Washington gets a Thanksgiving game against Detroit, but this is a rematch. You get to see Jared Goff. You get to see Jane Daniels. The Lions presumably will be way more healthy rather than they were in the divisional round, and they will still catch this ass whooping because they are not going to be able to stop Jane Daniels. I don't give a damn who is playing and who is not. And then, of course, you get the week 16 and then the week 17, that Philadelphia game, and then Dallas on Christmas. I like the fact that Washington's playing on Christmas. I wish it was the 425 game because I enjoy the first half of my day on Christmas, but I'm really excited to see Washington beat the absolute living life out of the Dallas Cowboys on Christmas Day. Jane Daniels and the elf costume that we saw in 2024, that damn thing will never get old if he goes and busts up Jerry and the Dallas Cowboys. That one's going to be at Washington though, so we get to celebrate Christmas by beating Dallas here. I'm excited about that. Let me know your thoughts on this schedule. I like the schedule. It's not easy, but we're not asking for it to be easy. We're just asking for a chance. And if you got number 5, you got yourself a chance. Let me know your thoughts. Hit me up on Twitter at the Denton Day. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you stepping into my personal office. Now, respectfully, get out.